Hello, my name is Corey Weimer, and I'm your virtual tour guide on this, the Explore Cottage Grove video series. I'm here today in Cottage Grove's Chamber of Commerce Visitor Center, located in the historic downtown district of Cottage Grove, where they have handy brochures on things to do and things to see in and around Cottage Grove, such as a historic downtown walking tour and a map to all the scenic murals. So come on, let's go explore Cottage Grove's historic downtown district. In 1858, gold was discovered 30 miles east of Cottage Grove along the Upper Row River as the Cottage Grove area was starting to develop. For the next several decades, a series of gold rushes brought hopeful prospectors, rich investors, and a railroad station located east of the coast fork of the Willamette River. The first train arrived in 1872, and Cottage Grove continued to grow with the blocks near the train station at East Main Street developing with hardware stores, saloons, lodging houses, and gambling houses. The remote and rugged Bohemia district was one of the richest gold regions of the Western Cascades, and it fueled the growth of the city. The city of Cottage Grove was incorporated on February 11th, 1887. By 1893, there were two feuding town centers, Cottage Grove Slab Town to the west of the river, and East Cottage Grove, later named Lematai, to the east of the river. The train station was built on the east side, giving it status and prosperity, but the west side still had the post office. These two towns separated and feuded over the location of the post office until 1899, when they reunited as Cottage Grove. Today, the original heart of Cottage Grove west of the river is a residential neighborhood. As the gold mining boom waned, the timber industry became the dominant industrial force in the Cottage Grove area, with 31 sawmills recorded within 20 miles of Cottage Grove in 1909. The city continued to grow, and Main Street was paved in 1909. The Cottage Grove Downtown Historic District is listed on the National Register of Historic Places and is the most intact collection of early 20th century buildings in Lane County, Oregon. Using the self-guided walking tour brochure, which you can obtain from the Cottage Grove Area Chamber of Commerce Visitor Center, you can observe nearly 20 historic buildings in the downtown core that are listed in the brochure along with information regarding their historic construction and use. Many of the historic downtown buildings were designed by a prominent Lane County architect, John Hunsaker, and were constructed of brick manufactured in Cottage Grove. We will highlight a few of these buildings during this virtual tour. As you exit the Cottage Grove Area Chamber of Commerce Visitor Center, take a right and look to the west. Try and imagine how the street looked at the beginning of the 20th century. Head west on East Main Street. Approximately 2 blocks from the Visitor Center, you will arrive at 702 Main Street, which is currently the location of the Book Mine. This building is one of the oldest commercial downtown buildings, having been built prior to 1893. This building is also one of 2 remaining wood frame buildings on Main Street. Although its original use is unknown, the building housed the Helena Saloon. Further west at 602 East Main Street is the Wheeler Veatch Building, built around 1900. Additional prominent buildings on the north side of Main Street include the Stewart Porter Building at 522 East Main Street, which was designed by John Hunsaker and constructed in 1907. This building included the Crawford Hotel upstairs in the 1930s. As you continue west past the current City Hall, you will come upon the Centennial Covered Bridge, which was built in 1987 by volunteers to celebrate the centennial of the city of Cottage Grove. Cross over to the south side of East Main Street, and you will note the IOOF Hall Building, which was constructed starting in 1926 and is one of 2 buildings in the historic downtown that is 3 stories tall. The Renaissance detailing on the facade is unique for Cottage Grove. At the corner of 5th Avenue and East Main Street, there is a mural which depicts an authentic rendering of Main Street Cottage Grove in the 1920s, as recorded from a photograph from the period. At the corner of South 6th Street and East Main Street, you will come across two former bank buildings on either corner. These buildings represent a period of prosperity for the city of Cottage Grove, and they have been well preserved and restored. Head south on 6th Avenue, and you will see the old City Hall building on the east side of the street at 28th South 6th Street. This building was also designed by John Hunsaker in the neoclassical style and was constructed in 1927. Looking to the west, you will notice historical photographs in the windows of the Cascade Home Center. These historical photographs extend into the parking lot area and along South 5th Street. They depict the industry and life of historic Cottage Grove. Head south to Washington Street and then head east. You will come across the Cottage Grove Armory Building at 628 East Washington Avenue. This building was built in 1931 to house the National Guard in Cottage Grove and is a fine example of the 1930s Art Deco style. The Armory Building is owned by the city of Cottage Grove and has undergone extensive historical restoration efforts. Heading north on 7th Street, you will come across All America City Square, which is a small public plaza centered around a beautiful mural of Opal Whiteley on the western wall of the adjacent building and a replica of the original hose drying tower of the Cottage Grove Fire Department circa 1890. The public place is a key component of the historic downtown area. This location is loved and photographed by locals and visitors alike. From All America City Square, you can observe the Burkholder Woods Building to the west at 637 East Main Street. This building was built in 1908 and represents another John Hunsaker design constructed with locally produced brick. Heading east on Main Street, you will come across the Stewart Building at 733-37 East Main Street. This building was constructed in 1907 and was also designed by John Hunsaker. Across South 8th Street is the Bartell Hotel Building, also known as the Cottage Grove Hotel. This brick 3-story hotel started construction in 1911, and the upper floors were completed in 1922. In 1926, Buster Keaton stayed at the hotel during the filming of his classic silent film, The General. There is a plaque commemorating this event at the entrance of the hotel building, and a large mural celebrating the film is on the east side of the building. I hope that you enjoyed this virtual tour of Cottage Grove's historical downtown. Please, feel free to explore all the historic buildings that exist in the downtown area when you visit and enjoy the unique businesses that currently occupy the buildings. The Historic Landmark Commission of the City of Cottage Grove is a volunteer body of citizens appointed by the City Council that provide valuable insight and guidance to the City Council and city staff regarding historic landmarks inside the city. The efforts of the committee are aimed at fostering and furthering the preservation of Cottage Grove's significant historic landmarks. This episode of Explore Cottage Grove has been made possible by the creative efforts of local talent and the generous support of the following major sponsors. With additional funding support from the following: